Hey, paisanos, it's Darkstrider. And with the Super Mario Brothers movie coming out, which I'm really excited for, believe it or not, um, I decided for Throwback Thursday, we should play some Super Mario Brothers. We're playing Super Mario Brothers 3. Now, I played 2 like a month or two ago, and we're going to play 3 right now. So, little bit of crazy controversy with this game. Did you know that people believe that Super Mario Bros. 3 is actually a stage play? It's not actually an entry in the series. It's not actually what happened. And do you know what the proof is? If you look at the background kind of looks generic. If you look at, well, not these things here, but if you look at those blocks there, kind of looks like there's nuts and bolts there. There's a lot of curtain play, there's a lot of like things like that. So people actually believe that this may be a play. It may not actually have actually happened to Mario and Luigi, which is kind of wild, you know? Whole story, obviously, if you know anything about Mario, started out as a construction guy, basically. His name was Jumpman. He was, his very first game, he was fighting Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong stole Pauline, who, there's many different tales about what happened there. First of all, originally, it was supposed to be like his girlfriend. There was a Saturday morning cartoon back in the 80s where Pauline was like his niece. And then there were like a bunch of other things that have gone on. Pauline, of course, has come back as a member of Super Mario Odyssey, where she's the mayor of the New Kong City, which was kind of wild, based on Donkey Kong and stuff like that. It's actually pretty wild when you think about like where Mario started and where he's come, or like where he's gone. Again, he started out in Donkey Kong. His name was Jumpman. And then they eventually changed his name to Mario. And then they had a bunch of other things that went on. Donkey Kong Jr., and he was the protagonist. He was actually keeping Donkey Kong away. And Donkey Kong Jr., of course, had to save his father. Donkey Kong 3, there was no Mario. It was some other dude. Stanley the Bugman. Donkey Kong apparently got into like some kind of bug encampment or something. Like, it's just wild. After that, there was Mario Brothers, and that's where we first ran into Luigi. That's where they first came out with their plumbers, which is pretty wild because honestly, he went from like a construction dude to a plumber all of a sudden. So, I mean, you figure out how he made that leap in jobs. But then again, he became a doctor. I don't know how he became a doctor. Weird jump, weird leap. But, like he has, of course he's the most iconic character in Nintendo history and their major mascot. Again, we had Mario Brothers. We had after that, before we had even Super Mario Brothers, there were a bunch of Game and Watch things. Like, I know for like some of you who were born like later on, like 90s, 2000s, you see the Game and Watch that we have now. And, they've got the Mario Game & Watch, they've got the Zelda Game & Watch. Those are the two most current Game & Watch things that they came out with. Back in the day, they had nothing but Game & Watch, but it was all LCD. It was like really goofy LCD games that like we came out with. And we did have Donkey Kong. We had Donkey Kong Jr. They were the single screens like you see, you know, with the current Game & Watch things. Maybe I'll do a Game & Watch perspective either here or on the Retro channel, Dark Retro, where I actually play these games all the time. You know, all the old games. Maybe I'll do a perspective on both. But we had these Game & Watches, and they literally were timepieces, and they had like a little, like a paper clip in the back that you could like pull out, and you could keep it on like your table, on your desk, wherever, by your bed. And, you know, it would run. It ran on LCD batteries, you know, like way back in the day, these little button batteries. You know, that's how it kept time and everything like that. But then you could actually play games on it. And you could play classic Nintendo games, which they weren't exactly the actual Nintendo games that they were. You know, they were actually different. I mean, it's an LCD screen. It's very small. It doesn't have the graphics that like a Nintendo would have or anything like that. So we had these Game & Watch games, and they had, you know, again, Mario was the mascot. So Mario was in World War II. There was like some kind of like bomb game where he was like disarming landmines. He was disarming bombs. There were different games where like, you know, him and Luigi. And this was actually a wild thing. We had LCD games. We had the Game & Watch games where they were dual screen. So your whole like, you know, Nintendo, not the Switch, but the portable that Nintendo had came out with, all the Game Boys and everything, where they had the Game Boy Plus, Game Boy Color, Game Boy this, Game Boy that, and then they had the dual screen Game Boys. Those are nothing new. We had them back in the day. I mean, our graphics sucked compared to like what was going on recently, but we had that folding technology. You would open up the game, there were two screens, and it could be either vertical or horizontal. One of the horizontal games was Mario Brothers, where they were working at a bottling factory, and you would have to get a bunch of bottles and crates of soda and put it on a truck, and the truck will go away. You know, once you fill the truck, you get major points. There was nothing... There was no ending to these games. LCD games really didn't have like a beginning or the end. It was all about the score, which is basically what games were in the 80s. Games in the 80s, they didn't have a story, they didn't have a plot. It was all just, you know, you had to turn the score over. You had to win. And that was all it was. I'll continue this. I just want to look at this with the card flipping thing. This was problematic for me. This I loved in Super Mario Bros. 3 that they introduced this memory game. And you know what? There are 8 different memory slots for this. I actually have them all printed out. I have them all 8 different shots of this done. And when I was in high school, I used to like sell it off. I used to sell the actual pictures of what was what, so that way people would know what they were dealing with. It was wild. I'm telling you, back in the day, gaming was insane. Back in the day, we had no internet. We only had magazines, and you had to wait a whole month and hope that that magazine dealt with a game that you liked and gave you all the insights to that specific game. It was a wild time. Now you have the internet. Now you can just look it up. Now you can look at my YouTube videos if you want to see the latest glitches, the latest anything. We didn't have that back in the day. Anyway, back to the whole Game & Watch thing. Like, they had so many different Game & Watch things. And, you know, of course, Mario was in the forefront. Zelda came out, but, you know, that was like way later after the whole Game & Watch era. Nintendo came out after the Game & Watch era. And it was actually pretty wild. I remember they were, back in the day, we used to actually have commercials on TV for our games. I don't know if you guys do it nowadays. I don't pay a lot of attention to TV. I usually just look at specific things for my news, for my information, especially gaming and whatnot. I have certain people that I work with that will drop gaming information to me, and that's all I really want. I mean, you know, the world right now is kind of crazy. It's 2023. For anybody in the future who's watching this, so you know, things are kind of wild. But yeah, you know, like it was a different time. It was a fun time, and there was a lot more interactive things that Nintendo was doing. Which I gotta admit, Nintendo was on the forefront of everything. Super Mario Bros. 3 was featured in a movie called The Wizard with Fred Savage. If none of you know who Fred Savage is, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. You know, like, back in the day, there was a show called The Wonder Years. That's where Fred Savage made his leap to, you know, stardom. He was also in the movie The Princess Bride, if you guys still watch that, which was based on a book. It's a very good movie. It's very funny. He was the kid who was sick. And in this movie, The Wizard, his younger brother, I think that the younger brother was kind of autistic, but really good at video games. And he got his brother to this Nintendo tournament where they were playing a bunch of games, and they played like the Ninja Turtles game, and it actually gave us our first look at Super Mario Bros. It was all, they had to get the highest score, so they played Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they played Tetris, they played I forget what else they played, and then they played Super Mario Bros. 3, and it was the very first look at the game, and people were absolutely blown away. That was the whole reason that people wanted to see the movie. Now, a bunch of critics, and this is why I don't trust critics, movie critics, they came out and said that the movie was absolutely terrible. And they were grasping at straws for why this movie was terrible. Like, they were saying, while the kid was playing Ninja Turtles, he got a certain score. 5 seconds later, they show that he's got a higher score. I was like, who looks at that? It's ridiculous. It's unnecessary. Nobody cares about that. It's a movie. Enjoy the movie. If you're going to watch a movie, and remember that I told you this, everyone, you're going to watch a movie, you have to believe in the world of that movie. You're going to watch Superman, you have to believe that there's an alien from this other world that was destroyed, and our sun powers him, he's able to fly. If you watch Star Wars, you have to believe that, you know, it's a world where there's an evil empire and there are rebels, and the rebels have like enough heart and enough smarts, enough gumption to take over an entire empire. You know, you gotta believe in these things. If you're gonna go in that this movie is gonna suck because you don't believe that any of this crap is possible, you're not gonna enjoy the movie. You're gonna watch Shazam, you can't believe that a kid is worthy of a wizard's power and can say Shazam and turn into, like, you know, an adult. superhero, you got problems. If you're gonna watch these kind of movies, you have to disregard logic, you have to disregard science, you have to just enjoy the movie. Take it for what it is. There are super people, there are mutants, there are people that can fly. Otherwise, you'll never enjoy this stuff. And again, I didn't think it was that bad of a movie. It wasn't the greatest movie. It was a good movie. A decent movie. I'm not going to say a good movie. It was a decent movie. It really was. So Mario has had a very, very crazy history. After the Game & Watch games, we got Nintendo. Nintendo actually saved gaming. So I want you all to give a big shout out and support to Nintendo. Because we had, previously to Nintendo, we had the Atari, we had ColecoVision, and we had a bunch of, like home computers, Commodore 64, the Amiga, and a lot of people will tell you that E.T. actually ruined gaming. E.T. was a movie, again, in the 80s. They made a game based on the movie. The game was terrible. Not terrible by, like, today's standards. I mean, like, this game was absolutely horrible. It was the worst thing ever. So bad that there are actual documentaries where Atari took all of the E.T. copies. They got them all back from the stores they sent them to, and they put it in a massive landfill. And there was a documentary where they went to that landfill, they dug it up. There were a bunch of copies of E.T. I mean, smashed to hell, but a bunch of copies of E.T. And, listen, I still have my copy of E.T. from Atari, and it's still in excellent condition. It's still unplayable to this day, even as an adult. I can't beat that thing. I can't get anywhere in that game. Just because it was that terrible. It just, I mean, it was literal AIDS. It was cancer. It was the worst game to ever. Well, I don't know. Now that I know of the existence of Cheetah Men 2 may be the worst game, because you get to a certain point in Cheetah Men 2 and you can't complete the game. But then again, if I'm holding it to that standard, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, it will probably top Cheetah Men, because there are people that absolutely can't complete that game either. I digress. Anyway, I'm not trying to hate on these games, but like, in all seriousness, Mario, again, he's had a very, very historical past. It's been absolutely amazing. Nintendo has no better mascot than Mario. And, of course, after, the Nintendo came out and saved gaming, because once it came out, people got interested in gaming again, because the Nintendo dropped a bunch of challenging games. The Sega Genesis came out, or the Sega Master System, and they were in competition. They did a whole bunch of great things. It was a lot of fun. It was fun times. Gaming was back. And look at where we are now. Amazing. Amazing. Mario has been a massive staple. He's had his own cereal. Well, not his own cereal. He had a cereal back in the 80s that he shared with The Legend of Zelda. It was called the Nintendo Entertainment Breakfast System. And one half of the box was Super Mario. And it was like berry flavored Goombas and things like that that you could eat. I mean, obviously sugary cereal, just like all cereals. And then there was, on the other side, Legend of Zelda. And Legend of Zelda had similar things where it was like, like certain flavored garayas and stuff like that that you could eat. Which, I mean, back in the day, every popular IP had their own cereal. Ninja Turtles, G.I. Joe, Star Wars, you name it, it had a popular cereal. That's how you know you made it. And then the prizes were always like goofy stuff. I remember the G.I. Joe cereal, you could, on the back of the box, there were a bunch of like cardboard cutouts because obviously the cereal was, the box was cardboard. You cut it out and you could make like a little weapon or a thing that your G.I. Joe figure could sit in and whatnot. Weather Dominator or whatever. Sometimes they put Matchbox cars in it. The Star Wars cereals, they were masks. I don't remember what they did with the Nintendo cereals, and there were a lot of them, honestly. But yeah, Mario's come a long way. He has come a long, long way. What a ride he's had. And here we are, we had the original Super Mario Brothers movie. The live-action movie was terrible. I remember they had a cartoon, like they had it Saturday mornings, and then there was like every weekday, Monday through Friday, and it would be Mario and Luigi. It would be a live-action scenario played by Captain Lou Albano as Mario and Danny Wells as Luigi. And they always looked so old because they were old at the time when they made this TV show. But they played Mario and Luigi, and they actually killed it. It was a lot of fun. They would always have like some crazy scenario. They would have a bunch of like, at the time famous guests that would, appear. And like there was always a situation with these guests. And then they would always play a cartoon where, it was obviously Mario and Luigi. They were obviously plumbers from Brooklyn. I don't even know when that started, honestly. I don't know when it started that they were actually plumbers and that they were living in Brooklyn. I don't know when it started that they were even Italian. Not to hate on like the lore and everything like that, but like it was kind of wild that they came out with these guys. Mario started out as, he had no name, he was Jumpman, which again back in the 80s they didn't have plots, they didn't have anything like that. And then he became Mario. Then all of a sudden he has a brother, Luigi, and I guess that would make sense, they're Italian. Mario, Luigi, I mean, that's really not exactly an Asian name, or Asian names, so, maybe they were just like, yeah, we get it, like, it's possible, I don't know. So, anyway, Mario and Luigi have had a bunch of different representations. Again, they were, the earliest I can remember is the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. Again, live action, Captain Lou Albano, Danny Wells. And then what they did was Monday through Thursday, there was a cartoon based on the Super Mario Brothers games. Then they went into, on Friday, it was a Legend of Zelda cartoon, which was kind of wild. They got so popular that Saturday mornings, they kind of dropped the whole live-action Mario and Luigi, and they started actually showing cartoons of Super Mario Bros. 3. So it was in like a dinosaur land. They left Mushroom Land, and of course, you know, they had Yoshi and whatnot, a bunch of cavemen and stuff. So that was pretty wild. Before the Super Mario Bros. Super Show ended, they actually went into a season where Captain Lou Albano and Danny Wells weren't actually doing the live action segments. They had these two blonde surfer twins that out of nowhere were, I don't know, it was like a weird concept. They were in the Club Mario, and they were like bulldogs in cyberspace, and when they landed in our dimension, they were these blonde twin surfers. To me, it was annoying. That's when I stopped watching it. And it was like reruns of the cartoons anyway, so it really didn't matter to me. But, again, kind of goofy. After that, they had the Saturday morning cartoon where it was Super Mario Bros. 3, and you dealt with, they didn't call him Bowser, and Bowser didn't even look like Bowser. He looked like a giant alligator wearing a shell, and they called him King Koopa. And it was kind of funny. They never addressed Super Mario Bros. 2, but they did have Super Mario Bros. 2 characters in the cartoon, which I always thought was wild. They never had Wart, which was the big bad from Super Mario Bros. 2. They always did have Mauser and the Tri-Clyde, the snakes that spit bullets. They always had all those characters. Shy Guys. They never addressed it, though. It was kind of wild. Past that, oh, even way before that, in the 80s, they had a Donkey Kong cartoon where, like, again, it was Mario chasing after Donkey Kong, and they were on all kinds of adventures and everything, where he would always kidnap Pauline, and Mario had to save her in different situations. And then it was so popular that when Donkey Kong Jr. came out, they actually made a cartoon where it was Donkey Kong Jr. He arrived in the US, and he was looking for Donkey Kong, who was off on adventures with Mario and Pauline. So he met some biker dude, and they would go from place to place looking for Donkey Kong, like following his trail. They were always a couple of steps behind them, which I thought was pretty wild. Anyway, past that, we have the Super Mario Brothers movie with John Leguizamo and Bob Hoskins. And I feel like that movie was so terrible it ruined careers. Never saw another movie with Bob Hoskins. Never saw another movie with the guy who played Bowser, Dennis Hopper. And I mean, John Leguizamo survived. He had a bunch of other projects, but they famously complained about that movie, about making that movie. Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo were so disappointed in the direction the movie was going, how the movie was looking. They were said to get drunk on the set, which is pretty wild. I mean, that's pretty crazy. And then you never see anything from Bob Hoskins again, which is really sad because he was a great actor. As was Dennis Hopper. I can't remember if Dennis Hopper did any movies past that. I don't know. Anyway, took a lot of video game movies took a beating. Street Fighter was a movie. It took a beating. It was terrible. Alone in the Dark was a video game movie. That was terrible. Blood Rain had 3 movies. I want to say they were decent. Mortal Kombat had a couple of movies prior to the one that came out in like 2022, 2021, whatever. That movie was good, the original Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat, I can't even remember what the sequel was. It was terrible. Annihilation. Terrible. And then they made, you know, the Mortal Kombat that came out recently, and I think that that was absolutely amazing. Even though Cole wasn't a character from any of the movies, did not matter. It's a great movie. The Tomb Raider movies with Angelina Jolie were decent. They weren't the greatest. They obviously did not follow the games. They followed like separate adventures of hers. And I liked it. I thought that they were cool. Papa Strider, who is a weapon aficionado, he told me that it was just dumb the way that they were shooting from ropes and all that stuff, because he was like, that's impossible. I was like, again, suspend your disbelief. But it was good stuff. I actually enjoyed it. Now that we're in this section of Super Mario Brothers, the water section, the Big Bertha, they actually had her in the John Leguizamo and Bob Hoskins movie, and I thought it was goofy. It was a bouncer woman who was bouncing at the club. Toad was some goofy dude who was like a folk singer. You can't make this up. You guys really have to see this movie to believe it. It was a train wreck. Anyway, again, I digress. Again, Mario's had a very historied life. He's had a very expansive and fun sort of just, you know what, I have a lot of memories of Mario, and they're all good. And I really did enjoy the game. I really did enjoy the character. And thank God for Mario, because honestly, if not for Mario, if not for Nintendo, you wouldn't be playing any of the games you're playing now. Because the gaming scene collapsed back in the late 70s, early 80s, thanks to Atari. Or at least that's what people will say. Anyway, still another about 30 minutes left in this video. You go ahead, you watch this. I'll be back at the end and talk to you guys and, you know, let you know what's going on. But before I go, definitely if you want to see videos like this more often, you'll see them on Dark Retro. There's a link in the description below. And honestly, maybe I'll do some like history videos on all this stuff, which is a lot of fun for me, honestly, just talking about this. Maybe I'll be able to do, you know, deep dives into like all those movies, characters, whatever, either on this channel, on Dark Retro, both, or whatever. Let me know in the comments below what you think. I'll be back in another 20 minutes, and we'll talk again. So I'm gonna end this here after I kick Wendy Okupa's butt. In the Super Mario Brothers 3 cartoon, she had a different name. They all had different names. Anyway, again, guys, if you want to see more old school gameplay, subscribe to Dark Retro. The link is in the description below. And I'm going to try to live stream there on Thursdays, possibly. On Throwback Thursdays. So that way we play different games and whatnot. And I'm going to try to do it on YouTube, on Kick, on Instagram, TikTok, you name it. Facebook gaming, I'm going to do it all. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Please make sure you like and subscribe. It helps this channel out an awful lot. As always, I want to thank each and every one of you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.